And we are live today, Wednesday, not Tuesday, but Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I say Wednesday, not Tuesday, because it feels like a Tuesday because of how short this week or fast this week has already gone because of the holiday weekend. So I want to welcome everybody to the live stream tonight. I'm your host, OUFlagGuy, aka Josh, as usual, and I am joined again, week 2, even though they've done it a couple more times, week 2 of our week of college footballs by Swiggy and Gavin. Both of y'all, how are y'all doing today, and how was the holiday weekend? Did y'all enjoy yourself? Did you get sunburned? Are you happy that OU won? Are you how are you feeling?
Doing fantastic over here.
Good. Swiggy, any exciting things happen over the weekend, or did you just take in your college football?
My sister was in town, so did some stuff with her. Took in some college football, and that was pretty much it.
Gotcha. What about you, Gavin? How are you doing today, buddy? How was yours? Did you have a good holiday weekend? Did you do anything fun and exciting?
Just mostly watch college football. Got to see my cousin and his wife come down from Corpus Christi, for the weekend, and got to hang out with them. So they're been living on base for the most part. So it's kind of good chance to see them. Since they've been busy down there for the most part.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And we also have joining us right now the man himself, the man of the hour, Mr. Justin. How are you doing today, buddy? How was your Labor Day weekend? Anything exciting happen?
I got some disc golf in. I watched some college football this week when I could. Other than that, it was pretty good weather. Can't play too much. Got a lot of rest. So it was pretty good. How about y'all?
I was very, very well. I got a lot of cleaning around my house done. I attended the OU UTEP game, watched a lot of college football. I laughed at LSU's utter and complete failure of a.
Wait, are we going to talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. We're going to talk about it. We are definitely going to talk about it.
That's one of the few games I actually watched.
Swiglow was right.
Swiglow was funny on it, but yes, gosh, that game was. Oh, that game was such a glorious disaster, and I loved it. And every single capacity.
Have a glorious dumpster fire at this point. That's all I should say. It's a glorious dumpster fire of two blue collars going down the toilet.
No, it was not even that, because that was a team that was really trying to say, I don't want it, you should have it. No, I don't think I should win. You should win. Are you sure? No, I don't think I should. You should have. Oh, well, no. Well,
in other words, a game where both teams deserve to lose.
Oh, yeah, they both absolutely deserve to lose. But before we hop into this, gentlemen, as usual, we are going to start our live stream with the question of the week. And again, for all of our viewers that are watching, they do not know this question of the week. So this week's question of the week, because I actually honestly had it written down and I could not find it. I'm very disappointed in myself on it. So it's killing me because it was a good one for it. And if I remember it during the live stream, we're going to use it. But that all being said, your question of the week is, in a football game, where do you prefer to sit in the stadium? What is your favorite spot? And we'll start this week with Justin. Where's your favorite spot to sit in a typical American football stadium?
I'd say somewhere pretty like hot, almost not quite all the way up in the nosebleeds, but like midway down as far as positioning. I like to be closer to the middle, of the field, so I'm able to see the entire field. That's why I want to be high up in the middle. Like a couple of years ago, I went to I can see when my camera's working. Yeah, a couple of years ago with my stepdad, we went to a Memphis game against UCLA back when they had Josh Rosen, and we had like some kind of high seats, but right in the middle, so we could see the entire field. We could see both sidelines equally. It was a really good sight. I just like that view. We can pretty much see the entire field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So any particular yard area, like the 20, 30-yard line?
It was probably closer to the 40, close to midfield, or closer to the 40-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Gavin, what about you, buddy? Where's your preferred seating in a stadium if you had the choice?
Oh, if I had to choose, I would actually go with the end zone, believe it or not.
Really? Why the end zone?
Because the thing is, you can kind of see a lot more things going on from side, from left to right a little bit more, and especially with like what's going on down the trenches, the guard and tackle pulls, and everything that goes on that's within the trenches. Because usually you get to see mostly like from, when you're looking at the side, you're mostly looking at like where the just kind of seeing like where things are going, kind of going more of a vertical standpoint, but going from the looking at the end zone and everything, you kind of get to see the whole play actually develop like right in front of your eyes, if anything.
Gotcha. Okay. What about you, Swiggy? Where's your preferred seating in the stadium?
Anywhere between the 40s is pretty good for me. I don't like being too low. I like being not like super high up, but probably about like medium of the way up, somewhere between the 40s is like is like the sweet spot for it.
Why is that? With it, does it just where you prefer for like getting the field?
Yeah, I mean that's just where I prefer. I feel like if you're up at least a little bit, you can definitely see a bit more. You can see more of the field. You can see what everyone's doing and seeing certain plays develop.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I like sitting honestly as close as I can get onto the field, like that front row. Like one of my most enjoyable experiences has been in the student section. That was very, very fun for me. I liked being on that 20, 30-yard line. But if I had a choice, definitely 50-yard line, right at like that first row. If I'm not hearing the coach yell at his players, something is going wrong. Or if I could be on the sidelines, those are fun. Sideline's another experience entirely. But it's a very, very, I like being on the field. Now, I know people like my dad who likes being up in like the Cotton Bowl in the upper like row of the bowl, like at the very, very last. I'm like, what is wrong with you? But I can see all of what's going on. Yeah, that's why they invented television for that. So, or I have friends who like staying home and watching it because they like the AC in their restrooms being like 2 feet away versus that. So definitely different diverse areas. So that all being said, gentlemen, let's kind of dive right into this week. So just a couple things to recap from over the weekend. First off, if you did not see, the AP poll came out yesterday, and OU bumped up 2 spots for it. And not necessarily because OU did well. It's because Utah
can we pull it up?
What, the AP poll?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can. Give me a second for you, Justin. And I can probably even share that screen at that point. So yeah, 1 second doing it just for you, buddy.
Yeah, I did watch it. I didn't watch the whole game, but I did turn over just in time to watch Utah drive down the field to throw that end of the game interception.
Yeah. So this is what the AP poll is right now. We've got Alabama at number 1, which nobody should be surprised. Like Alabama's until someone dethrones Bama, it's benefit of the doubt.
Georgia.
You got Georgia at number 2 with again, not surprised.
They beat the shit out of Oregon.
They beat the snot out of Oregon.
They beat the shit out of Bo Nix. They still own him.
They crushed Oregon. Like goodness.
Yeah, but Georgia's always on Bo Nix, so not surprising.
I'm not surprised. Bo Nix has yet to beat Georgia. I think he's 0-4.
Exactly.
Against Georgia.
Exactly. That's why I said Oregon was overrated coming into the season, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, they were.
Then you got Ohio State, who took care of business. It was not the greatest game ever. And I mentioned it to Gavin on Sunday. The pendulum, like when we faced Notre Dame, swung Notre Dame's way in 2012. It swung the other way against Ohio State for it. And Ohio State it wasn't because their offense was good. It was just they wore out Notre Dame and ran the ball to death on them. And it showed on the field for it.
Notre Dame's a good thing. Notre Dame's probably a top 10 team. So I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by how that game went, though. But
me too. Then we got number 4 is Michigan, which for whatever reason they jumped 4 spots. Okay, like I whatever.
Michigan
they won.
Michigan.
You beat the crap out of Colorado State. Good for you.
Yeah, like they took care of business. The only reason they hopped up more than 2 was probably because of Utah and Notre Dame losing. Number 5, Clemson. Again, they're going to have to drop a little bit, but I feel like they're on a skid like OU was in the early the 2010s, where we would win and we just kept going down and down. I think that's what's going to be happening with Clemson as people start figuring out this team is not, at least offensively at the moment, good. I mean, it felt like the most earned runs. They took care of business, but felt like it was a lot tougher for them.
Yeah, it was like 14-3 at the half, though. If anything,
that was somehow like the saddest. I want 41-13 win I've ever seen, because I mean they just wore Georgia Tech down, broke them in the fourth quarter, but like up until midway through that third quarter, I mean that game was in doubt. So I mean they're lucky Georgia Tech's not good. So
yeah, you're not wrong. Number 6, though, was Texas A&M. And what do y'all think on that one? Because Texas A&M struggled a bit.
It's fine.
I think
it's early. It's early poll stuff. So
yeah, it's early poll for the most part. But like I said, once we kind of get into conference play a little bit, we'll kind of see the pecking order for the later part of the season. So
yeah, but Texas A&M, even then, like, I'm not surprised that they took care of business, but it took them a while to get to that to move on. And I do think legitimately they are going to struggle against Appalachian State this Saturday.
Okay.
I mean, Appalachian State almost beat North Carolina, and North Carolina is not a world beater. And no, Texas A&M is not part of our picks of one of our 6 games, but I do think they're going to give them a run for their money. Number 7, obviously us. We only bumped up because Notre Dame and Utah lost. Like, we took care of business against UTEP. Yeah. It was an okay UTEP team. It is what it is. We move on. Number 8, Notre Dame. Not surprised they only dropped 3 because they faced a very, very competent, I think that's the word I'm looking for, competent Ohio State team. Number 9, Baylor. Interesting game against BYU, future conference opponent. And then number 10, SC. Okay, like, I have no rhyme or reason. Like, they beat down Rice. As Sean said, they beat down a thing you put in a burrito. Like,
Texas beat Rice 58-0 last year. That's my only take on that.
Yeah, like there's just and then just rounding it out, Oklahoma State, Florida.
Isn't Rice a school that had the kicker that called dribble doink?
Yes,
I think Florida,
so. Florida at 12.
Yes, it was.
Florida at 12 is hilarious to me.
Florida at 12, they jumped so much. I'm like,
no,
were they even ranked before?
No, they were not.
No,
they went unranked to 12.
What?
Exactly. That's why.
Yeah.
Exactly. Florida going all the way to 12 is hilarious to me because it's like Utah had to. Because like Utah had to lose. I felt Utah lost that game more than Florida won it. But like, I mean, I guess you could say, oh, Florida's better than Utah, so they have to be 12. But like, I don't know. It's like that's just this is just why I don't take the AP poll seriously anymore.
Yeah.
I take it more seriously than the coaches poll.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, if I was a voter, though, I would put them like maybe around like 17 or 18, not all the way at 12. That is just too generous.
Yeah,
I agree. Rounding out the 25, you still got Utah dropped 6, Michigan State, Miami, Arkansas, Pittsburgh, North Carolina State. See, that's where I expected North Carolina State to be at, was 18, not that atrocious like 12, 13 they were at before, depending on what.
Yeah, that's another game. That's another game I watched. They didn't look great against East Carolina.
Yeah, and then if you notice,
they didn't look great.
And ring the bells, guys. Ring the bells as we're rounding out the top 25. Tennessee is actually ranked just to lose. Probably.
This is a pit.
That feels fair. I mean, Tennessee, they took care of business. It wasn't. I mean, for like early season poll stuff, I think. I mean, Tennessee, I think plays. Is it Arkansas this week?
No, they played Pitt.
Pitt. Yeah, I knew they played someone ranked. So like, at least it gives us a ranked matchup to care about at 2:30. So
absolutely. But if you notice Andrew, look who dropped out of the top 25.
Why were they even the top 25 to begin with?
Because that's what Texas is. They always get ranked like first, and then they actually get placed where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, preseason polls are pointless.
Like nobody knows what these teams are going to look like.
I didn't think Texas was even ranked in week 1.
Yeah, they were ranked like I think they were 23. They were ranked. They dropped out.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, you see other ones with it
Okay.
too. Like North Carolina also dropped out as well. I think they were like near the very bottom, but they did drop out. So.
Yeah, and they
I
had
put-
bad games.
they were a missed 2-point point conversion pass away from losing that game to get to Boise State. They only because they should have lost the game only because the quarterback missed the guy. He was wide open. He just missed him.
Yep.
Correct. So we'll come back to some of the games and stuff. I do want to cover the rest of the stuff just briefly. As well, but we'll definitely come back. Again, though, OU is number 7 in the AP poll. And if y'all did not see, we're a little bit removed from it. I have a video coming up this week for it. Hopefully tomorrow, if not Friday, depending on when I want to record my preview vid. But we are officially moving to a 12-team playoff now. And they are pushing basically the commissioners to get it done, figure it out by 2026, and I think it's going to be 2024. Because one of my coworkers actually asked me, what's going on? I'm like, guys, it's probably going to be next year because Fox ESPN does not want Fox having Ohio State, Michigan, OU, Texas, USC, and everybody on their payroll for even a year or two. And Fox wants that playoff money, and ESPN has a clause in there that they get to basically restructure and get first dibs on whatever it is until then. They're probably going to compromise and say, all right, Big 12, we'll give you a higher payout if you allow OU and Texas to leave earlier and allow some of these playoff games to go to Fox. That all being said, this is how it's going to be set up with it. It is the first 4 teams, best in the season, get a bye. The rest are playing games at home. And once you hit the quarterfinals, you start doing bowl games. They have not really said if it's going to be the New Year's Six and it's just rotating who's the semifinal, or if it's going to be little no-name bowl games. They have not really stated that yet. Additionally, we don't know, like they said it's going to be the top 6 conference auto bids, but I mean, that's probably dependent on if the Pac-12 is relevant and it exists in by the playoff with it. So is it going to be the highest group of 5? How does Notre Dame play into it? It's all probably being worked out at this point. But regardless, we are here for a 12-team playoff. I'm really excited for it. I really wish the quarterfinals would have been home games because I do think they're pricing out the normal fan at this point, because who wants to go to a quarterfinal game when you can go to the semifinal game or the Natty? Like, that's just me. Finally, before we get into the rest of the week 1 games, Swiggy, any real final thoughts on the OU UTEP game? Wrap up before we jump right in.
Not particularly. It was a very meat and potatoes, take care of business kind of game. I thought the defense did a good job for what they had to do, especially when after we went up big. The offense sputtered a few drives, and the defense. They gave up some points, but it wasn't. But we weren't at the point where But it was never at the point where I was like worried about the game. And even though the defense feels like it's a work in progress, like this isn't what we're going to look like at the end of the season or even a month from now. It was basic. It was very much what I expected out of it, especially especially with how bad the heat was on Saturday too. That affects both teams. But yeah, that was tough.
But Andrew, the student section left early. Guys, the entire damn.
Get a hold of yourself, man.
What?
Get a hold of yourself, man.
Justin, I'm telling you, my dude, there were people legitimately, and I remember that was going to be my question of the day, and we'll save it for next week with it. So remind me the question of the day, and I'm going to give you a sneak preview. Should the student section be shrunk? We'll save that for another time. But there was people legitimately griping and crying, and Gavin and Swiggy can back me up on this, saying that the students don't show up. Let's shrink the student section, sell it off to somebody else. Here's the thing. It's a problem. It has been a problem for a while. That being said, if they're using that game as like the baseline game to determine, to make the students lose their tickets, bro, the entire stadium was gone by halftime. I was a witness. I was there. Most of the stadium abandoned ship about 2 minutes in before halftime. And yeah, more the west side came back, but guys, according to a thermometer on the field, it was anywhere from 110 to 120 and about 30 to 40% humidity. People aren't going to stay out for that. I told it to Gavin. I was not joking. My coworkers thought I was joking when I said I've been hydrating since June to prep my body and for it. I was not kidding.
Yeah,
I was fine. No sunburn. I was hydrated. About 5 minutes before the game, I started to feel the effects. I'm like, all right, UTEP, like, let's hurry this up. I have places to go. Like, you're not scoring 40 in the last 5 minutes, bros.
No,
like,
but
run the ball. Quit throwing it. But
I also think, and we'll talk about this more next week. I think things will change a bit when we move to the SEC as far as like competition goes. But we'll cover that next week. We'll worry about that next week.
So funny enough, I do remember my question of the day. I actually do that. So the student section was one. We'll save that for another time. But I actually do remember it, and I'm going to give it to y'all because next week I want you to think on it. I'll actually, you know what? I'll save it. I'm going to actually type it out so I do not forget it. Now, that being question of the day. All right, got it for next week. Perfect. So, Andrew, one takeaway, positive and negative from the UTEP game.
I think. I mean, I think the positive. I think the positive was that that the offense looked about where I thought they should look for the UTEP game. You know, my negative is, man, I hate quick score. I hate quick scores. Sometimes I like a 6-minute drive or something, but.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, as I said, that 2018 was probably the best condition for that. But I've always felt since about 2007, 08, when we were in that up tempo, that's going to bite your defense in the butt. They're going to be tired. And if you look at that, and Gavin brought it up about that time of possession, it was such a mismatch. So you would say offense was good. And then you said you don't like the up tempo, essentially.
Yeah, I don't mind up tempo to start. I just wish by like the second quarter we'd slow down. We'd slow things down a little bit. Like,
gotcha.
I get it, but it's one of those things where and we can be conditioned for it, but it just does feel like so many of our games. I mean, this is going back to Stoops, where it just feels like we just go. It's not bad if we score, but if we have a quick 3 and out that lasts takes 45 seconds off the clock, man, that's hard for a defense. I just want a little bit slowing down.
15 of 23 for 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, took 2 sacks
for Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean the stats.
Yeah. I mean, well, do you want me to come back to you, Justin? Because I was going to ask the same thing. Did you watch the game?
No, I'm just reading the box score. So go ahead. Go ahead, Swiggy.
Cool.
No, I'm done. That's all I got.
So basically, Swiggy, yours was offense did what it is, but you are worried about the up tempo.
Yeah,
could affect the defense later in the season if they're not properly conditioned.
Yeah.
Gavin, we talked about it a little bit on Sunday. One positive, one negative from the UTEP game.
I would say probably the one positive that I'm going to go on the other side of the ball defensively, and that a lot of better tackling, and swarming to the ball. We something that we haven't seen quite a long time. I think the one negative takeaway for me, it was just, I'm going to just, like I said earlier, the secondary was kind of been,
hit or miss.
It was pretty hit or miss because, honestly, I mean, it's like, there's like some throws, he put it on a dime, but it was like a lot of the stuff was like they were playing, a lot of the underneath stuff, and that was just one of the things for me because it was like we were playing like so far back from the ball that it was just not it was just the easy catch for the underneath stuff where it was like 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 2. That's the only thing I can really get frustrated about.
Yeah. And I can't disagree with you with that. I can't disagree with you. I'll go. I think the one positive that I definitely have, since Gavin, you mentioned it, I'm going to go with a different one. Positive is, for as far as I remember, and Swiggy and Gavin, feel free to correct me, none of our guys got winded. Like, they were actually very well conditioned. There was no cramping. There was no puking, like on UTEP side. Overall, the guys were like super conditioned. Nobody got injured.
Yeah, it's a Smitty effect. That's what it is.
Absolutely. And that was such night and day. They did not look sluggish. My negative, and I know I am very much in the minority on it, is I still do not think Eric Gray is the running back that we need to be going with. I think Marcus Major should be the starter and Eric Gray should be the backup. I know they have two different styles of running. I just don't feel this offense is as good with Eric Gray as it could be with Marcus Major. But that is just my opinion. I know I'm very much in the minority on that. Other things on it as well. If I didn't have to do that, another one would be I'd agree with Gavin. I don't know where I'm at right now of how much of this is vanilla and how much did they just disrespect UTEP's skill position guys versus how much of it was vanilla playmaking. It's the first game of the week. How much do you want to show, essentially? That being said, with that, going into like the X's and O's, I guess, however you want to say it for it, they couldn't get off the field. But it is what it is. It's how much do you read into that? I don't know. Justin, from looking at the box score, is there anything that sticks out to you or anything?
Well, I see y'all had 6 sacks, so that's a positive. So y'all's D line did work.
Yeah, the D line was probably the strongest unit on Saturday. I mentioned it to Gavin, and I mentioned it on a preview video that OU, if they're wanting to win that game, had to either basically load the box and dare them to throw it, or sell out on the pass and just dare them to run it because they weren't running well. And they did that. They loaded up the box and they dare them to throw it. Now, the flip side of it is where Gavin and I and Swiggy were talking about it is we do have concerns about the secondary because they threw the 2 guys, Smith and Flores, and they just abused us for it. And again, we don't know if it's because they didn't respect it, so they weren't going to double team the guy, or it was they're just that good, and that's just some of that competition. The thing is, though, is that UTEP is not going to be as nearly as good as some of the wide receivers down the road. So there's no telling for it. But yes, D-line definitely came to play, and they put some hurt on it. They I'm not going to say they made UTEP's quarterback like my life miserable, because he did. I have to say, at the game, and it was even more impressive in person. Even I was like, bro, I'm blown away by this. Did y'all see the pass that he did where he did like almost a frisbee golf throw?
The
pass?
sidearm.
Yeah, that was impressive. Justin, remind me to send that to you, because he was in the pass and then he just like threw it. We're like, whoa, that was neat. Like, dude, like has skills. So definitely was impressive for it.
I think he also played like a little bit of baseball, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So oh, hold on. I think Justin was asking for a demonstration.
So he did do like this?
Yeah, he did something like that where it was like an underhanded, and it was a good little spiral too.
Okay, like an ultimate throw?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was good. I'll send you the replay of it, but everyone in the stadium was like, we've never seen a throw like that. It's a very, like, I've heard basically it was just like that. It was an ultimate throw with it, and it's just very, very precise.
That's
of course, not a lot of people do it.
And that's a very mid-major team to think, because like I mean, that's the big problem with mid-majors. You always get, you can get some of the, you can get one of those guys who not good enough to be a Power 5, but he has a wrinkle, which if you're not careful can mess you up. So,
Absolutely.
Which I think kind of happened.
I will say, and I've mentioned this though in on Sunday's video though too, like I think one of the unsung heroes, I would say on the offensive side of the ball, I got to give it to Braden Willis. Yes, he scored 2 touchdowns, but man, he had some key blocks, in the game besides on the running game. He also was that key block, especially in that Gavin Freeman run. And after he did that spin move, I'm not killing you. Willis was like running side by side with him to make sure he got that defender, not like as a hard block or anything, but just enough to where he altered the run a little bit for Freeman to get that first touchdown. If anything, I think if anything, it's like how I kind of look at it. If you look like at Jeremiah Hall and some of the other H-backs that we had before, I think if anything, too, he's going to be your Swiss Army knife, going for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Justin, other final thoughts from the box score from looking at it?
No, not really.
Gotcha. I will say, in my opinion, the highlight of the game, in my opinion, was definitely what you mentioned, Gavin, was the Freeman run with it, because Justin, get this, walk-on player who's been like just struggling for the team for it. First touch as an OU player, scored a touchdown.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. Now, like, it doesn't matter who that is, whether that's an FCS team or like an FBS. Like that's
get your hands off me.
oh yeah, it was great. He almost got tackled and then basically did an NFL move, spin and ran. He bolted. That was probably
I love a good stiff. I love a good stiff arm. As a Titans fan, I love a good stiff arm.
Stiff arm is amazing. Stiff arm is amazing. I'm going to bring up the first trivia thing because obviously we're going to dive right into week 2 as well as like kind of recap some of our highlights from the week 1 games. But let's dive right in. So tomorrow, gentlemen, begins the 103rd season of the National Football League with Super Bowl champions LA Rams versus the Buffalo Bills. Who was the first OU player to throw a touchdown pass in a Super Bowl game? I know I look really a whole lot for all these trivia ones because I don't want gotcha questions like, oh, you should have known that he wore his pink socks in the 3rd game of every. No, like
this one feels kind of gotcha if I'm thinking technically.
No, this one isn't. They've mentioned it actually a whole lot.
I actually don't really know many. I actually don't really know many former Oklahoma QBs besides Baker.
Okay. Maybe and I'm gonna kind of go back. I'm thinking it might. And I know he was only there for a few seasons and then he transferred over. But I'm somehow thinking Aikman, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
Oh yeah, that's right. He played for Did he play for what's his face Barry Switzer there?
Yeah, he played for Switzer for a few years.
That's right. And did they hate each other even then?
No, they don't really hate each other. It was just a difference of it, and Aikman knew he wasn't going to get playing time once Holloway entered. It was more of just it is what it is. But Aikman's not even claimed for OU. Like, yeah, he was there, but he's more claimed by UCLA. So surprisingly, no, that is not the answer.
Yeah. Isn't that like Texas Tech doesn't claim Baker?
Right. They may have played there, but did not finish school there. Just like that, Andrew, we mentioned it. It's just like that wide receiver who came to OU, could never get on the field, but he was from Missouri. I think DGB, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was DGB. Yeah.
So, are y'all ready for the answer?
Yeah.
You have one, Andrew. Do you have an answer? Give me one.
I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to think here.
Do you give up? Just throw an answer out there.
Hold up. Let me think here. Give me one moment, and if I can't, I got. I know it's not going to be a quarterback. Who is it?
Well, give me a guess.
I can't even guess. I'm trying to run through old Super Bowls. I'm guessing it was a trick play because I can't remember any Sooners and any quarterbacks. So I guess that's my guess. Someone who wasn't a QB.
Gotcha. Gavin, who do you got? Do you have anybody?
I mean, other than Aikman, I can't think of anybody else. Like how Swiggy said, other than a trick play. That's the only thing I can think of. But that's all I can think of.
Justin, anybody?
No, I'd like to say I don't really know my former Sooner quarterbacks.
And that's fine. In the same respect, I don't know other people's quarterbacks.
Hold up. You know what? Just for lulls, because I think he was on the Chiefs, I'll say, was it Blake Bell?
No. So the closest one, Andrew, you were close in that it's not a quarterback. The answer actually is Joe Mixon from last year's Super Bowl. He is the first OU player to throw a touchdown in a Super Bowl.
Asshole.
No, it's not. I gave you the hint actually in the trivia. It's not a gotcha question. It actually is a legitimate trivia question.
It is. No, that is legitimate.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. Oh my god.
That's why I said it was. I knew it wasn't a quarterback. I just couldn't. I just was going back through old ones. I knew it was a trick play or something. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say Troy Aikman, I guess, but he's not claimed really by OU. So the real true one that graduated from OU, yep, it was Joe Mixon. I remember that through Twitter. They're like, so fun fact that you can use in trivia night, guys. He was actually first one. I'm like, really?
Yep.
Huh, he is. Oh, he just doesn't have pass makers in the NFL and stuff. So, yeah, Joe Mixon is your answer. So, All right, guys, let's now get back to it. So let's go wrap up week 1. What game do you want to cover first? North Carolina and Appalachian State throwing up on each other on who could fail the most?
No.
What about FSU and
No. We got
LSU?
no. We got to start at the beginning and the full West Virginia experience with the backyard brawl.
So first off, why can't these teams play each other like we talk about college football expansion? There's nothing stopping them from playing each other every year. They don't do it. Like that's not on the conferences or football. That's on the school, the individual schools.
They should. I mean, they should. I have to say the fact that Neil Brown still has a job today is, you know what? It's just praise be to buyout clauses because you're gashing them for like 10 yards a run, 4th and inches, and you just punted in that situation. Oh, that was painful.
He was a dumbass. He took all their momentum away. Like, what a dipshit. Like, yes, I'm going to cuss on it because it's like, who does that? And that's not even the most egregious one from over the weekend. But who does that?
The worst coach in the Big 12.
Absolutely. He's a joke. Like, it does warm my cold, sooner bitter heart, though, that it made the dude of West Virginia on Twitter just cry. Like, we were the better team. Not according to that score, you weren't.
I felt bad. No, I felt bad for West Virginia because they came to play. They came out. That was such a great start to the weekend. I know it's Thursday. I know it's Thursday night, but that was just a beautiful chef's kiss game to start what ended up being a pretty great weekend of football.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
but
I have no qualms with it. We saved the couches.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say this too. If you caught like any of the post game, press conference, especially like with Scott Van Pelt and everything after the game. Oh man, the head coach for Pitt, he was salty against ESPN. I mean, he was keeping on attacking them, especially during his interview with Scott Van Pelt, and even in his press conference after the game. It was like he was saying like that Pitt was getting disrespected all the way through, saying that this was a pro West Virginia crowd, and I'm like,
That was a pretty pro Pitt crowd, but okay.
Yeah, I'm like
weird flex.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, he was like, just getting very salty with ESPN, and everything. And so it was just like,
yeah, and Gavin and Andrew and Justin, we said it the week before when we were previewing in our picks. You can have JT Daniels, but it doesn't matter if the rest of the team around you is awful. And I'm not going to say they're necessarily awful, but JT just has no weapons at all on his team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but they still look good enough. They were good enough to beat Pitt. They had the offense. The offense was doing just enough, and then, you could feel the pick six coming. You could just feel it, and that happened, and we got the full West Virginia experience, which.
Well,
I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So,
well, another week for the Jugs for the wide receiver, if anything, in my opinion. Too, for bottling that catch, if anything.
Yep. And then let's not forget to Thursday night, and it's my one mention of it is Oklahoma State facing off against Central Michigan, and I'm gonna say right now. I know there's a lot of Oklahoma State apologists right now about the defense saying like it was just the first game, bro. They put 44 with your second string.
Their defense looks so bad.
They look
so. I mean, I expected some regression this year from Oklahoma State, and maybe they'll get better. But that was a legitimately bad defensive performance by Oklahoma State.
Yes, it was.
And I was, and this is something that I brought up on Sunday too. It was like a tale of two different halves, if anything. it's like they just literally put themselves in neutral for the entire second half while they floored it in the first half.
Yeah.
It was a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of game, if anything.
Yeah, in week 1, I can forgive garbage time TDs, especially on a Thursday night game. Like if they had won 55-21 and they scored like 14 or 17 points in the second half, okay, fine, whatever. That's just that's garbage. That's garbage time stuff. It's going to happen to teams sometimes. I can forgive that. 44, I can't forgive.
No, that's like us against Tulane. And I tried to be an apologist last year of like, oh, it was the first
Yeah.
game. I've had my rule of thumb of if it's not basically like drop balls or flags that are due to like false starts and stuff, that ain't rust. That's taught. So
Yeah.
but now what's funny is that's not even the more, because if you move on to Friday, guys, then it's also who's in a more miserable state. You got Charlotte losing to William and Mary, or you've got Virginia Tech losing to Old Dominion.
Virginia Tech, there's a reason why Iowa, despite everything, keeps Kirk Ferentz there as tight as possible. Because
you made me gag a little bit. I'm sorry.
No, it's true though. Iowa knows what Iowa is. They're not going to compete for national championships. At the very least, Kirk Ferentz gets them. He's big enough to do okay in the Big Ten and gets them to bowl games.
But but Swiggy.
You're telling me that Virginia Tech doesn't want Beamer back.
But Swiggy, I'm just letting you know. That's going to be my Saturday game of like what the hell. But I'm just letting you know they made those sick children watch that game.
Hey,
poor children.
They
still won. But the point is,
Yikes.
But my point is, at least they didn't lose to Old Dominion. So
at least the flip side of it is, at least with Old Dominion, they're new, but there is a hatred of them, Virginia and Virginia Tech altogether. Like they all don't like each other. So at least there's a little bit of that. I don't know if I can say the same with William and Mary. Like, you lost to the academic school, dudes. So, what were you going to say, Gavin?
I was just going to say on like the whole Old Dominion deal, it's like when you get like an in-state rivalry, even though you might not see each other, it might be every few years or so and everything. And I'm going to just say this, and this was on top of, adding insult to injury. Virginia Tech actually even had like some stuff like that was even stolen in their locker room after the game as well. It was just like
if you're not gonna want your lunch money stolen, don't lose.
Bring back Beamer.
And not only that, but it was just so weird because there was like such a long delay because for like the Virginia Tech coaches got stuck in the elevator as well, and I'm like, okay, can we not get any more wackier this season for Virginia Tech at this point? I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, well,
only in week 1.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It'll be interesting on how that's going to go further down the season.
Absolutely. So then we move on to Saturday, which was its own batch of crazy with whatever the sickos like with Iowa and dudes. I'm
sickos forever.
There's someone that actually asked, and it's another question I will ask y'all sometime this season. So spoiler alert. They're like, do you boo your team if they are doing that bad? And I said, as long as you are booing the coaches and the administration, absolutely go for it, because I'm sorry, I felt the same way that I did when OU faced Baylor in 2014 with Mike Stoops as defensive coordinator and us playing 10 yards off the ball. At some point, you have to boo. That is you're paying money to see that. That is not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the players for it. That game was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I will absolutely encourage booing. Like, that's the only way. Like, it's embarrassing for them. But
yeah, the players of the game only at that point. You have to give it to both punters at this point. I mean, special teams was the only difference in this game.
Yeah. Oh, what was the other Saturday game that was just wacky and stuff too? It was that Iowa game, but we'll move on with it. Texas, obviously, the quarterback's car got towed, which everyone's asking what happened. I guess with it, he may have parked somewhere outside the
Yeah, it was
player
just like
area.
he parked in a spot that he shouldn't have. Yeah, he parked in an area he shouldn't have, and he basically his car got towed while he was still playing and everything. And I'm just gonna say this because I actually was watching it was like a game week vlog that like Michael Turk does on his channel and everything. But they have like these little passes in their car,
Yeah,
and they have it to where they designate them in a certain area and everything else. It's like, bro, if you do not have that or anything else like that, then that's on you. I'm sorry, but
it's on him, but it could also be Texas, depending on like did they get it to him in time and stuff too. I remember those when I was at Sooner Vision. They would give out the press passage usually the Wednesday before, of like, all right, don't lose it.
Yeah, and so it's like I mean, you yeah, but the thing is, once you give it to the player, then that's really on the player themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like at that point, and so that's kind of my whole deal. If anything.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got Sunday, the craziness that was Florida State and LSU, where both hate each other so much. LSU, you're embarrassing our conference.
It's
yeah.
It's the Brian Kelly experience. Nothing is Brian Kelly's fault. It's the punter for muffing the punts. It's the center for doing shotgun snaps in a hurricane. It's just what you expect of Brian Kelly, and he's at a big enough program in LSU. It might not matter, but Brian Kelly
fingers.
Brian Kelly is a jerk. He has always been a jerk, and
Butterfingers.
Hey, he did kill that kid one time. So,
I remember the other one.
Really
fast on it.
technically.
I do feel for Spencer Radler. I know South Carolina won on Saturday against Georgia State very comfortably, but Spencer Radler just looked bad. And I'm starting to go, bro, what happened? Like you're having Landry Jones levels of regression, and even Landry didn't fall that badly from it. I believe his junior to senior year, he became stagnant. But
I honestly thought with an off season with Shane Beamer getting away from Riley, just getting away from OU would help. But man, that was
poor guy.
That was ugly. That was ugly.
Yeah, and it was just, I would think, if anything, I mean, his QBR and it goes from 0 to 100. It was like a 28.6.
Yeah,
and that was just so bad.
But it's okay. Do you know what the QBR one for Iowa was?
Probably even lower than that. I think at like 12 or 13 or something.
Lower, Gavin. Try like 1.1.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I believe it was either 1.1 or 2.2. Yeah, it was. Yikes!
Yeah, I really feel.
Yeah,
I mean,
here it is.
I mean that's the thing. I don't hate Spencer Rattler, despite everything that happened last year. I don't hate the guy. I thought South Carolina was a sneaky pick to win the SEC East, but man, he just looked bad.
Yeah. By the way, here it is. Petra's week 1 outing of 11 completions for 104 yards earned him a grand total of 1.1.
So can we maybe consider that and forgive me for saying this, kind of our, worst quarterback of the week?
No, because there's still dum-dums like other ones. Let's not forget too, guys, also. Let's not forget too, though, Florida State and LSU. Goodness.
Florida. That was just I like literally all you have to do in the red zone is not fumble or turn the ball over, and you do a pitch. I still struggle to understand that call, and
so I just want to know who makes that call. I was even at the TV. I was like, I'm home from the OU game, just relaxing. I go, who makes a dumbass call like that? No, I'm sorry. Sunday. I'm sorry. I was home from doing some errands. who makes the pitch call? I'm like, you're on the 1 yard line.
Even if the quarterback, even if the QB just falls forward, you have better options.
Yeah, I was just wondering, are we going back to the Les Miles style of offense at that point in the red zone? I'm like,
you wish, because at least then you can eat some
yeah,
grass.
that I'm like,
goodness. It was just,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but you know what? I will say this. I will give some credit to LSU. That had been a rough game up until that point for them. Really great drive to drive downfield. Took what FSU was giving them because they were playing such prevent defense with that with that amount of time left was dumb, and it almost worked out. But one thing I will say, Brian Kelly and LSU not going for 2 was a so much worse decision there than
because
even
they're
the pitch.
dumb.
I mean, FSU was out of gas. They did not have anything going for them. I do not believe for 1 second they could have stopped a 2-point play there. And instead, I mean, I get kicking it because you're playing for overtime. But, that was... I mean, it feels like old school LSU is back where something crazy always happens.
Because they're dumb.
We can only hope.
Yeah, and it was their home away from home too, in the Superdome as well. Which
exactly.
Yeah.
I still remember a couple years ago there was a game with LSU when Wes Moss was there. I think it was at Ole Miss where they completely fumbled up the end of the game where they needed a field goal and they got all the way down to like the Ole Miss 6, but they had no timeout, so they couldn't get the field goal off.
I mean, that's
right. I think I remember that. It was that they caught it, but it was like a deep Hail Mary or something like that too, and then they caught it in bounds and everything, but there was just not enough time to spike it, to stop the clock.
If you ever want a trip back in time, go on YouTube, watch like great college football finishes. There are a few videos from the last decade, and it's like LSU and the SEC are involved in like half of them. The classic Tennessee LSU totally mismanages the clock, but Tennessee had too many men on the field, so LSU got untimed down.
Let's see.
Because that's the one time you could say Les Miles used confusion. It was very effective.
And it was like, well, but the thing is, besides the 12 man, you could have maybe got them for like maybe for an illegal snap infraction or something like that too in the center as well. Because with all that stuff and everything, where they're kind of getting on the centers and everything for those illegal snaps now these days.
Everything is bad about that. But what are you saying, Justin?
I remember randomly end of a Tennessee Georgia game where Georgia lost on a Hail Mary for Josh Dobbs, so I think Juwan Jennings.
Oh yeah.
That was like 2017 or 2018.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It was somewhere around there.
Yeah. See, you mentioned Old Miss, and I'm thinking of Old Piss.
Oh.
Dude.
The game that keeps on giving, and they still lost that game. The game that lives on in infamy. I'm just saying, y'all can laugh, but it's true. I
mean, one thing I will say, I will give Georgia Tech credit for at least giving us kind of a Monday night game, because that's all I was really hoping for was a good game until like the third quarter. Because I mean, Clemson should just ran them over by the second quarter, but
yes.
At least,
You know what, Josh? No, Josh, just for that, the lateral. Just for that.
That hurts. Just you can't. That hurts.
Actually, so much. Hey, think about that. Boise State got killed this weekend, and nobody cared. And nobody cared
because nobody cares on it.
Yeah, it was at Oregon State, and I'm gonna tell you this. It's like I get so irritated because, and this is where it's so frustrating because I actually have one of our sports reporters that I usually see on a daily basis over at work, and he comes in almost like at least once, if not twice a week, wearing a Boise State shirt. Reminding OU fans and people that are in there about Boise State. He's like deep trolling in there.
Well, nobody can.
every single week.
Well,
And that's fine. He's allowed to troll. You can tell him, and how many natties did you win from it?
well, nobody
Yeah.
cares. Well, nobody cares about Boise State anymore because if they did, someone would have noticed how badly they got beat this weekend.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to previewing Kent State. And that's honestly why a lot of this has been about week 1 of college football. I'll be honest, I don't think there's a lot to preview about Kent State, because if you thought we didn't learn anything about this team last week, we certainly will not learn anything about this team this week. I mean, we're facing already an 0-1 Kent State team who, again, are part of the MAC division. And I mean, if you really wanted to, they won the East last year. They were a 7-17, but they've already were wiped off the map by Washington, 20-45.
Yeah.
It ain't going to get better.
Yeah.
Like, you even take a look at their starters, their entire D-line and half of their safeties are transfers. Like,
Yeah.
That's their weakest unit going into it. You look at their main line as well. With it, they're either juniors and seniors on their offense. So they may have some offense, but with our D-line, it's not going to do anything against us. And then our guys will be able to score at will at this point. So really, how much are you going to learn from this? Like I said, this is just going to be UTEP, again, just pushed a couple hours later, because as a reminder to everybody, remember, it's a 6 p.m. kick. It's our first night game of the year. It's also on ESPN Plus. It's not pay-per-view for the first time, and it striped the stadium. Like, we're not going to learn anything with it. We're going to get all the guys rotated. I will be honest, if we thought UTEP was vanilla, this is going to be probably even more vanilla. And if there is even a smidge of upset, they'll go get the guys out there, call it a day. I expect a lot of up tempo in the first quarter, and then literally just them messing around for the next 3 quarters.
So if you thought this week was like store bought vanilla, this week's basically going to be like vanilla that you buy at Dollar Tree.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
It's going to be great value vanilla.
Great value. Yeah.
Great value.
I mean, yeah, these Kent State exists as someone who grew up in the area. They exist. I mean, it's Kent State. It's Kent State. It's the same thing. We're just not really going to learn anything. And where I am last week is kind of how I feel. I don't want Dylan Gabriel taking too many fourth quarter snaps. As long as he doesn't, then it's a success.
Yeah.
This game to me is going to be a rep game, and preparing for Nebraska, doing a little bit here and there to prep for them. Getting everybody in there. I agree with you, Andrew. Get everybody out by the third quarter. Let the second and third strings start playing by that point, and just prep yourself, rest it up for Nebraska. Get up really quickly for it, and I would say this is the game that either General Booty or Evers is going to get some snaps and stuff by the fourth quarter. I would say we'll be on it, unless there's some disaster, knock on wood, of like we just stagnate or something on the offense. We're just not going to learn anything.
Yeah, I don't really think we'll see a whole lot. I think if there's one thing I would love to see, and I mentioned this before, I would love to see the complementary football, where the offense is giving the defense a little bit of a breather, if anything, at this point, instead of getting those quick 3 and outs. I know we mentioned it before, Swiggy. I think, if anything, I would like to see that to where they can take some time off the clock, so that way your defense is not being gassed out there. That's the only improvement I would love to see kind of coming into, Kent State. I know it's the tune-up for Nebraska, but I think that's one thing they can improve on.
Yeah, and I definitely think, too, like the areas of focus within reason for it, you gotta get the wide receivers a little more involved, because I felt like they were just there against UTEP. They didn't really impact the game. They got reps, but it was nowhere near what I thought. And then really, in my opinion, the focus area should be the secondary, because Casey Thompson is going to sling it that following week against Nebraska. So I do think they need to get Billy Bowman, Woody Washington a little more prep for it, and this is the time to do it. I don't think anything O-line or D-line is going to do anything. Run game is going to be what the run game is at that point. There's just not a lot for it. And I would say probably focus on your timings, minimize those flags at that point. There's just not a lot to learn with this team. It's vanilla.
That's pretty much basic at this point. So
yeah, I mean, literally, like, that's I'm probably making the same exact video. I'll have some talking points and stuff as well. But yeah, Justin, do you have any thoughts against a cupcake team for OU? Like anything for it? Because even looking at the box score, not a lot's going to change. Like it's going to be probably the same thing. I guess for me too, it's if they allow more than 20 points, I will be a little worried. I could see the refs gifting them like a touchdown or them giving up to 14. But do you see anything that OU should probably that you would want to see from them going into week 3?
Well, I heard earlier Gavin mentioned that the secondary was hit and miss, so clean that up, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and something to keep in mind with the secondary, you were playing against UTEP. The big issue was it was the 2 players that they kept tossing it to. Again, you don't know if it's a combination of they didn't respect those players because it was UTEP, they had issues, or if it was like they didn't even attempt to double team them. So
Yeah.
there's no telling, and I think it's just because it was UTEP. Like our skill was a little bit more higher ceiling than their good, solid players were.
But if I may, Josh, and this is something that I also brought up too, I think they were also afraid of getting beat deep. So I think there was that was probably one of the reasons why they were trying to stay a little bit more underneath than what they usually done before. And I think that would have been probably one of the reasons why we were seeing a lot of stuff more underneath than anything.
Correct. So, Justin, for OU, do you have one takeaway for them that you would personally look forward to this weekend? Just one takeaway besides the secondary.
Not really, because really that's only the problem I'd say I saw from the box scores. Maybe the secondary level queue too many yards. Maybe a lot of it could be garbage time. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Can y'all watch the game?
It wasn't all garbage time.
Yeah,
our secondary could play a little bit tighter, but
Yeah.
like I think Gavin said, it's like I could tell during the game they just didn't want to get beat. Like their entire it felt like the defensive strategy for that one was we're going to make you drive downfield and earn it. And I mean, if nothing else, we got some good tackling in. So I'll take that as well. I guess that's my positive from that. Is that we got some good form. We got some good form tackling practice out of that, so that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew, what will be your takeaway then for this game this Saturday? What's one thing you're looking forward to?
We exist.
Yeah. I mean,
that's it. That's all
yeah.
I got.
What about
Exist.
As long as we play a solid game and exist, that's all I really care about. So
Yep. Gavin, anything you think OU has last minute? One thing you're looking forward to before they play Kent State Saturday?
I mean, I've already mentioned the complimentary deal though too. So I think we can work out maybe just getting some consistent drives to give the defense some rest. I'll be good with that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of mine too. Is there's just not a whole lot to learn from this team. I want to see them get some of our guys, like maybe even Sawchuck and everything, some reps. Let's get them reps by the third quarter. Not even wait until the fourth. Let's get them in the third. So there's not a lot to preview, guys, on this one. There's not a lot to talk about because it's more about what happens with Nebraska this weekend against their opponent and seeing what they have. So I'm going to add our next thing up. So before we move on to the final segment of our show, we had our fantasy draft on Monday night, and this is kind of what the preseason rankings are. We've got Chad at number 1. We've got Andrew right here in the room at number 2. We got Kayla at 3. Gavin comes in at number 4. Patrick comes in number 5. I'm number 6. Frank comes in at number 7. Justin, my man, comes in at number 8. Tyler comes in at number 9. Brittany comes in at number 10. Joshua comes in at number 11. And Sarah comes in at number 12. And then if on the flip side, you look at the grades, I'm just going to focus on the ones here. I got a solid B, third place for it. Andrew was right under me at a B grade. Gavin, you got yourself a C grade or a B grade, and then Rocky, you got yourself a B minus. So I'm going to kind of go around. Gavin, how did you feel about your draft?
I feel like it was like pretty solid for the most part. I think if anything, I'm really concerned because I got like Lamar Jackson as my quarterback, and it's like with Lamar, it's always usually very hit and miss, and he put in a lot of some extra weight as well for the season. So, I'm going to be interested in seeing how that is. But I will say, I'm really happy that I got Jamar Chase, it's like my wide receiver as well. And I think I got a pretty good running back room as well. So I think those two things are going to definitely be a really huge factor in the long run.
Pay me.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Lamar's saying, pay me.
Pay me. No, that's what Deshaun Watson is saying.
Hey, Watson. Hey, Watson did get paid.
He did. Yeah. Justin, how do you feel about the draft? Do you feel comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Are you happy with what you drafted? Like,
I feel okay with it since like most of my last later rounds are kind of auto pick because I was also at a cookout, but I got at least was around for the important picks. I feel like I know I'm kind of rolling the dice where I picked Cousins and Burrow as my QBs, but I have a feeling that that's probably the best that Cousins going to look because he doesn't have Mike Zimmer there anymore holding him back. So I'm holding my bets on that, and I'm pleased with getting Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara.
Nice. Where and you drafted near the end of it, didn't you? Weren't you at near the bottom of the draft?
Yeah, I was like at the end. I was like at the end of every round.
Correct. Gavin, you were like right at the middle, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's usually hard because when you're at the middle, you don't really get a whole lot of wiggle room and everything, so you're just kind of waiting and hoping and everything. And it was like there was like a few picks. It was like, it's like you always miss out because you got that one person that always gets right ahead of you. So
yep, mine is always Chad. Chad's usually the one above me, who's right ahead of me. Andrew, how did you feel about your draft? Quick summary.
Felt fantastic.
And considering you were number 2 in the draft.
Felt fantastic with my draft. Got my 2 running backs. Got Hurts. I'd like a little bit more depth at wide receiver, but overall, I feel I'm exactly where I need to be going into the season.
Good. I felt that too. I was the last pick because I won last year. For those of y'all that are watching for that. So in our league, winner goes last. And I had to make decisions because I'm used to middle of the pack, essentially. I've gotten like draft picks 6 and 7 from it usually. And unfortunately, at 12, you have to kind of take your best players at that point. So I got a running back, and I picked up Mandrews for like my number 2 pick. And then I got lucky with Josh Allen and Justin Tucker for a kicker. So after that, it's just I'm hoping for the best. Wide receiver is my weakest point for it. There's just you have to give up position with number 12 at that point, and I was not going to lose a tight end. After you lose the tight end, there's no point for it, and especially at number 12. So, all right, let's wrap up there for it. We'll go into this one as well. I want to thank everybody who has subscribed. We jumped up 6, guys. We are officially at 171 new total subscribers from it. So, or 170, I put 170, but there was a late one, so it was 171. There was 5 hidden, so I don't know who subscribed. So thank y'all for joining. And then 1 Shansta21. Thank you for subscribing. I genuinely appreciate it. I'm glad everyone wants to come hear me ramble for like an hour and a half, like every couple hours. So let's dive right in, gentlemen. Last part of the show is our pick'ems. And boy, I just want to let you know, Andrew has the bragging rights on Florida State and Florida State covering against LSU because we dropped the ball on that one. I have the bragging rights with Oregon because all y'all were like, no, Oregon ain't going to score that. Oregon crushed Georgia crushed.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
They destroyed them. So just a quick overview of what happened last week, and I will give y'all's updates in next live stream. Everybody was correct on the Jackson State pick against Florida A&M. Jackson State crushed Florida A&M. It was like 59-3, and they got annihilated. So the next one was the game day pick of Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Only 2 people got that one correct. It was Justin and me who said Ohio State was going to win, but Notre Dame was going to cover, which is funny because, Andrew, whenever you and I have done pick'ems, you're scary on it where you can pick them correctly, but it seems like the spreads are what
that's it
right now.
And it's like that's why I don't gamble. I suck at the point spread. Straight up pick. I know who's going to win, but I suck at the point spread. So
I ain't lucky enough. I ain't lucky enough to gamble.
I am just so bad at the spread. It is just my worst nightmare. If anything,
What's funny is
fine.
Yeah, you
but
can pick
I-
them. You're exactly like Andrews. You can pick them, but that spread really messes you up. And then on the flip side of it, who knows what the over-under would be? That would be in another story entirely, which may be something we could look into next year with it. It's fun, like you either win it all or you don't. But yes, that was that one. So Georgia versus Oregon. I was the only one who got that right because I said Georgia would cover. Everyone else picked Oregon to cover. West Virginia, everybody lost out on that one because we said while Pitt was going to win, we all said Pitt was going to cover, and boy, did they not cover. West Virginia made sure of that.
What was that? What was that all about?
What, the West Virginia Pitt one?
Yeah, like why was that game so close for a bit?
Because it's a rivalry game.
Yeah,
That's enough.
Rivalry
it's not
game.
even like Nebraska where it's like they respect each other. Like, so to get an idea, using OU as the example,
no, they don't respect each other.
No. Andrew, hold on. So OU's rivalries with Nebraska is a very respectful one. Like, there's not really virtual hate towards each other. It's just there. Same thing, honestly, with OU and Texas. They hate each other during the game, but not really outside. Outside of some extreme cases. And OU could care really two shits about OSU. Pitt and West Virginia absolutely hate each other. They could go 50 years. It will be like they played yesterday. They hate. There is pure hatred between that. So that's why it's so close. Like, it's that energy, and it definitely spreads over into the actual game in the sense of like OU Texas, where anything can happen. It's because you got 50-50 down the Cotton Bowl. Pitt and West Virginia are exactly like that. You can't really. I'm trying to think of other hatred. And there's very few rivalries like that they just despise each other. Not even Alabama and Auburn, because Auburn's not even that. That rivalry has not even been something till about 10 years ago. So, in my opinion. So anyway, though, that is the answer to your question, though, Justin. But yes, so nobody covered that. Andrew, you get to go home with your stripes because you were right about the Seminoles. And then everybody but Gavin was correct on the OU game. Gavin said OU would not cover, and OU just barely covered. It was looking like it was going to swing your way, and then that late field goal sealed the deal for OU. So here we go, gentlemen. We're going to start this week. We have 6 picks again. I think 6 picks. I think I had 6. Yes. It's supposed to be 7. So what I will do is I will send y'all one extra game prior to tomorrow. I don't have it on live stream because I miscounted. I put the OU game as part of the main pick for it. So first off, we are going to start with the FCS game of the week. Number 14, UT Martin, 1-0 at Missouri State. Number 5, Missouri State, who is 1-0. For some background info for y'all guys, UT Martin won 32-31 in their last year FCS playoff against number 5 Missouri State. And that's the only time in the 1-7 meetings that they have actually beaten Missouri State. So, Andrew, we're going to start with you, buddy. Who do you got? Do you got UT Martin or do you got Missouri State?
I'll take Missouri State for some revenge.
Yeah. Gavin, who do you got?
I got to go with Swiggy on this one, Missouri State.
All right, what's the matchup again?
UT Martin versus Missouri State. Missouri State has beaten them every single time except once, which was last year during the FCS playoffs, and they beat them just by a point.
All right, yeah, I'll take as much as granted UT Martin's my alma mater, I'll pick the Southeast Missouri.
Really? UT Martin's your alma mater? I did not know that.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you had to pick against them. So I'm actually going to go rare. I'm going to skip everybody on this one because the second game is the big noon kickoff / college game day, which I still stand by. They need a water balloon fight or a water gun fight, just like Splatfest. Texas versus number 1 Alabama in Austin, Texas, and Bama is favored by 20. I'm skipping all y'all and saying Bama is going to wipe the planet with Texas. They're going to brand them a new brand on it and make it like Beaver, and they are going to cover the spread. So, sorry, I had to skip. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, I have no faith Texas is going to win this game, and any Texas fan who thinks that they're going to win Y'all are freaking nuts. So, and now we can argue day and night if they're going to cover the spread. But yeah, they ain't gonna they're not winning this game. They're gonna get annihilated. So Gavin, who do you got for me? Do you have Texas? Or just tell me, let's be honest, just tell me, do you think Alabama's gonna cover the spread or not?
Oh, I think Bama is going to cover the spread, and I want to bring this up too. And this was something that was just mentioned yesterday. Alabama's $1 Million Marching Band, made the statement and everything saying, no, we're not going to Texas and everything because of where you decide to seat us and everything. And it's like, we're not going to, sit there in the 100-degree heat, being up in the upper deck.
Well, it's because they're putting them out in the nosebleed. And I've seen Texas fans trying to defend that. And I went, guys, it really doesn't happen anywhere else. Like the only instance I can think of is TCU, and it doesn't count because they have a stadium of 47,000, not 100,000 plus. And Tennessee, when we faced them in 2015, I can swear, and maybe it's just been the fans, but I could have sworn the band was also in the very, very back. Like nobody else does this, and the SEC is not going to fly with that. Like, come on, guys. Like fans, more power to you. I'm not going to argue that. That's your stadium. That's where you need to place them. You want to minimize their impact on the field. It's the band. The band's not going to do too much, guys. So anyway, Gavin got that. Justin, like I said, I know you're going to pick Alabama. Are they going to cover the spread or not? Unless you're part of Team Chaos and you're really going to pick Texas.
What's the line again?
-20.
I'm going to say where is the game?
Austin.
In Boston?
Austin, Texas.
Oh, it's at Texas. Okay.
And keep in mind, Bama, I'm not trying to influence your decision. Bama destroyed Utah State 57-0 last week.
Oh, yeah, that really helps my decision. I'm going to go on the limb and say Bama does not cover, but they win.
Really? Okay. You're going to be a risk taker. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say they probably went by like 7. They probably went by like 17.
I can take that. I'm going to laugh, Justin, if next week, I'm like, so they won by 71.
Well, you laugh anyway because it's Texas.
I mean, it is
accurate.
What it is.
Accurate.
It is what it is.
Accurate.
I laugh at incompetence. Andrew, I know you're going to pick Bama. Are they going to cover?
Right, you laugh at competence, so yeah, laugh at Texas.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's like laughing at the Knicks. Everyone laugh at the Knicks.
Yeah. Good job, Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell. Psych.
Yeah, everyone laugh at the Knicks.
No, I mean, it's 20 is a big spread, but at the same time, we've seen Bama come to these games before. Quinn Ewers would have to be a top quarterback in his second start to come out against that Bama defense and even put up any kind of fight. I don't like Texas defense. Bama's going to cover. 20 is a lot, but Bama covers. Nick Saban's going to make, it's going to be a Nick Saban. He's going to put a stamp on it. I just don't see Bama being that unprepared for a game. And I know people have been bringing up all week, well, Sark beat Pete Carroll. He beat Pete Carroll when Carroll was in the twilight at USC. This is twilight Pete Carroll at USC is not the same as Saban in 2022 at Bama. He's coming up, they're coming off an almost national championship last year, where if they didn't have some injuries, they probably would have won. Maybe Texas surprises me. And you know what? If Texas plays it close, I will give them kudos. But I just don't see how Alabama doesn't cover at this point.
Exactly. Moving on. I picked the third one. It's almost like an Oklahoma State deal, but this one does seem like an interesting matchup. Iowa State versus Iowa. Both are 1-0, and they're at Iowa, and Iowa is favored 3.5 points. Gavin, who do you feel for that right now? As a reminder, Iowa threw up on themselves and has no offense, but Iowa State graduated and had a lot of NFL talent declare for the draft. with it. So this is going to be probably maybe one of their honestly closer matchups for it.
Okay,
so
so
who do you got for me?
Okay, so is this an Iowa City or names? That's my question.
Iowa City.
Okay, Iowa City. Okay. Here, and this is my biggest issue, if anything. Iowa's offense is not that good, but the thing is, their defense has always come up on top against Iowa State's offense.
Yeah.
It's like I have to lean towards, that Iowa defense, and I would have to say. And you said it's 3.5?
Yes.
Okay. I think Iowa State covers, but Iowa wins it. Not they'll probably win by 3 points exactly.
Okay. Justin, who do you got?
I'm sorry, I was sidetracked with something going on in my town. What was the matchup?
Iowa versus Iowa State. Both are 1-0. Iowa, it's played in Iowa City, and Iowa is favored at 3.5. And Iowa State transferred and had the people declare for the draft prior to that. But Iowa, as you saw last week, has no offense at the moment.
Well, even though they were ranked last year, they hardly had offense last year. So
yeah.
So I guess I'll take Iowa State.
You're going to take Iowa State. So Big 12, Iowa State.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then do you think they're going to cover?
Cover, yeah.
Yes. You'd have to cover, yeah. So
yeah, okay. 3.5. So yeah, they will cover.
Yes.
If they win by field goal, I'm gonna throw something. No, I won't.
No, you won't. I'm also picking Iowa, but I'm also in agreement. I'm going to pick Iowa State to cover because I'm a little worried about that Iowa offense. And I'm going to be upfront until proven otherwise. Iowa State, I have no confidence that they're going to beat Iowa in any of these type of games. It's like the Oklahoma State scenario. It could be as close as it is. We know what the outcome's probably going to be for that. So, Andrew, you're last up. Who do you got for me?
You know what? I'm going to take Iowa. And I think they cover. I could see Iowa's defense putting some points on the board and making it like 4 points. Iowa State's driving downfield, needing a touchdown to win, and they don't get it.
I can see that. This game's going to be probably very close with it. If it's more than a touchdown, I would be surprised. Next up, we've got probably the highest ranked game this week. Number 4, Tennessee, 1-0 versus number 17, Pitt, 1-0. Tennessee is favored at 6.5, and it is at Pitt. I believe it's at Pittsburgh. So I know it's a weird one that's the highest ranked game for it. And so we'll start with Justin. Justin, who do you got for me?
I'm sorry, what's the matchup?
Tennessee versus Pitt.
Oh yeah, Tennessee versus Pitt. Where is it?
I believe it is in Pittsburgh again.
And the line?
Yes. It is at Pittsburgh, and the line is 6.5 Tennessee.
Sure. Shit. This is a toss-up for me, honestly. I guess I'll just guess I'll go with Tennessee and say they cover. You know what? No, you know what? I'll pick Tennessee, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be a close game, and they do not cover.
Okay. Why do you think they're not going to cover?
I think it's gonna be a close game, probably maybe by field goal.
Makes sense.
I imagine Pittsburgh is not an easy place to play. They're still playing at whatever they call formerly known as Heinz Field, and I feel and as we all know, that field is shit.
Yeah.
But then again, they pretty much got hyped up against West Virginia. So,
but that's an exception to the rule, though.
That's an exception,
Rivalry. So, I'm also going to go Tennessee, and I have enough faith in Heupel's offense that they will cover against Pitt because of how emotional that game was. I don't think Pitt is ready for that back-to-back for that. So I have Tennessee, and Tennessee will cover. Andrew, who do you got for me?
this is a super tough one. Because I don't really trust Tennessee. They were bad last year. Heupel's done a good job getting them ready. And I mean, this is the first year in a while we've seen Tennessee take care of business. At the end of the day, I think the talent gap is going to be too much. I think Tennessee wins and Tennessee covers.
Okay, Gavin, you're last up. Who do you got for me? Tennessee or Pitt?
Tennessee covers at this point. I mean, you guys pretty much put in, some good points, so I can't go against it.
Cool. So, all right. So I put you down for Tennessee and Tennessee covers. So next one up, last one, and then I'll send that last one to y'all prior to games on Friday, starting for it. We have the triangle, the Bermuda Triangle of the pack. USC, number 10, USC versus Stanford. Now, you might be wondering, it is at Stanford, both are 1-0, and USC is favored by 9. So you might be wondering why I picked this one. It's because USC beats Oregon, Oregon beats Stanford, Stanford beats USC. It's been a triangle like that for almost 12 years at this point. So anything, in my opinion, could happen for it. Andrew, you're the last one for this one. Who do you got for me? Remember, it is at Stanford, and USC is favored by 9.
This is a tough. Stanford.
I know, right?
I mean, Stanford is bad. Stanford is bad. Stanford is bad. Stanford was bad last year.
And they always play. They always play USC tough.
They do. Yeah. I'm gonna go USC, but they don't cover. I think it's going to be tighter than people think it's going to be. It's going to, because they always play tough. It's a game Stanford circles on their calendar. But I just, even with the rebuilding stuff at USC, I just think Stanford is that bad, and I could definitely see. I see the game going like this. USC takes a pretty decent lead. Stanford chips away at it, and USC does put them away in the fourth, but it'll be by like touchdown or so.
Gotcha. Gavin, do you have USC or do you have Stanford? Oh, and I'm making sure. So Andrew, USC to win, Stanford to cover.
Yeah, USC to win, Stanford to cover. Yeah.
Oh man, it's. I think if anything. Oh man, I think it's weird because the pack is just so inconsistent. And if I'm trying to remember, Stanford actually upsetted Oregon last season, if I'm not mistaken, after Oregon won. So it's like the pack is always so inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And okay, you know what? I'm gonna go on the limb. I'm gonna be the odd one out. I think Stanford wins, but USC covers.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just going to be kind of odd one out, and I'm just going to kind of flip the script on this one.
Okay. Justin, who do you got for me? Do you have Stanford or USC?
Don't mind me. I'm just looking at the highlights of when Stanford beat USC back in 2007. I'll say no. I legit am. See.
I believe you.
But I'm gonna go same with Swiggy. USC wins, but they do not cover. But like I said, Stanford, no matter how bad they are, they're like one of those teams that no matter how bad they are, they always play USC tough. They'll make it easy on them.
Yeah. So I'm glad I picked this game because everyone seems all over the place with it. I'm gonna pick USC.
Oh shit, that's why Richard Sherman was there.
Yeah, I picked USC, and I am actually gonna go with USC to cover.
I think Harbaugh was the coach.
Oh, that's right. That's where he was before. That's where he was before he became the Niners coach.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm going to pick USC to win, and I'm going to pick them to cover. I think Riley is going to bring consistency to that program. I don't see him dropping that in his first year with it, especially with the talent that he has on the offensive side of the ball with it. And I just don't see it. I do think it's going to be a tough game regardless of it being at Stanford, but I do think he's going to break that trend. So let's move on. So we got all that, guys. Let's move on then. I'm going to add this in there as a reminder to everybody. This Saturday, OU plays Kent State on ESPN Plus, not pay-per-view. So everyone get your $5 subscription. Just do it now at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Daylight Time. So everyone, we should be having fun. So with that being said, final pick. We're going to start Gavin. OU is favored against Kent State by 33. Who do you got? Obviously, you're going to pick OU to win. Is OU going to cover against Kent State?
Yeah, I think OU does get it. I think OU does cover it because Kent State is just so just not seeing a lot of consistency on offense. So I think OU covers.
Okay. Justin, I know you're going to pick OU to win. Are they going to cover against Kent State? It's 33.5.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew, or I'm going to say the same thing. OU is going to win, and they will cover against Kent State. Andrew, I'm assuming, are you going with the trend? Everyone, OU and OU?
Yeah, they win and cover.
Gotcha. All right. So now that we're in the final stretch of it, Andrew, we're going to start wrapping up here. What is your final prediction for the Kent State game?
My final
score as well.
Final prediction for the Kent State game with final score. This feels like another solid. Like I'm going 42-7. I just 42-7. Like I can see it maybe 49, 42 to 49-7. I just don't see Kent State being able to put up much of a fight for anything.
Yep, and that makes sense. It's just like UTEP for it. Gavin, what's your final prediction for the game?
I think if anything, Swiggy probably mentioned. I'm gonna probably go and maybe say I'm gonna go 56-14. They probably will have maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns in garbage time against the third streams, if anything.
Yeah. Justin, what's your prediction for the OU game? OU's going to win, but what do you think final score is going to be?
I'll say OU 56, Kent State 14.
That sounds like about right. I have OU before they go on the road. I think Venables does want to have a game where he breaks half 100 before the first road game as head coach. So I'm also in agreement. I think it's going to be 52 just to give the kicker a little bit more experience, maybe 55, but 52 is where I think it is, versus probably 13. 52-13. They're going to give me touchdown. There's probably going to give me a field goal with it against Kent State.
I'm going to change that to 50. Change it to 54-17.
Yeah, that's a fair score. If they keep it under 20, everything should be fine. And I go back and forth because I'm like, if it's 55, it gives the field goal kicker 2 chances in the game, not including the PATs. So, but yeah, we'll see what everything happens at that point. That's all I got, guys. We focus really a whole lot. Next week will be a bigger show. So first off, I want to thank everyone for tuning in again this week, or if you're watching after the fact, thanks for tuning in and watching. Comment, rate, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell whenever we go live, or when I upload a video, when to go and check it out. As a reminder, join myself and potentially Sean on Sunday as we recap the Kent State game. Again, we don't know how much stuff there is going to actually be to recap with Kent State, but we'll have some talking points. We'll go over our areas for it and probably do even a little bit preview of Nebraska. Additionally, next week, we will have another special guest on for our second segment, the best OU fan of 2019, aka my dad, is going to join us and tell us stories about OU Nebraska time with it. And yes, he is still bitter about that game of the century that he went to that was really cold in 1971. And yes, I am bitter for him. And I was not even born yet. So yes, I am retroactively bitter. But he's going to join all of us, talk about football. He's going to talk about the olden days. Gavin's interacted with him before, so he knows how fun it is talking to Dad and talking about the old stories and everything. Dad really has a very, very special heart for talking about OU football, especially Nebraska, and he has all the funny stories about Texas. So I do hope everybody joins in. It's always fun to hear basically to how football has changed from now and when he was really going to the games in the 60s and the 70s at that point. So everybody, I really hope you all tune in for that. That will be definitely a treat for him. It's his one time a year. He'll be able to join us, and he may even join us for the pick'em. So again, guys, comment, rate, subscribe, and that's all she wrote, guys. So Boomer Sooner, there's only one. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy football games, and I will see everybody here Sunday for our subscribers, and I'll see all of y'all next Wednesday. Have a good one. Stay safe, and I guess enjoy the good weather if you're gonna have good weather. Later.
Until then, we go.
Peace out.
Peace out.